Welcome to the Political Matrix News. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix. This is the Political Matrix News. It is Tuesday, the 15th of October. We are just a very few days after Hurricane Milton. Scott was in Pensacola for the whole thing and not involved at all. Greg was in Gainesville. How'd you do, buddy?
We handled it pretty well. I will say our area got very lucky. Parts of our town lost a lot of trees. We got a lot of rain. We got 9 inches of rain. I think over where you were at, over in Orlando, you guys got y'all got hit pretty hard over there in Orlando.
Yeah, I can talk about that. I was out of town last week, 2 funerals, lifelong friends, 40 plus years. And when I got back Saturday, it took me about an hour and 15 minutes to clean the yard. And I think we were very, very lucky. Didn't lose a window. Yeah. I found somebody else's shingle. I mean, like a 4x4 shingle square. It was real shingle, but it was that big. And I have no idea what roof it came off of. There was also an empty Mountain Dew bottle that blew into my yard, and I don't drink it, so it must be somebody else. And that was really that was it. That was it. No big deal. People. They're down as of a couple hours ago, down to about 140,000 people without power. And a lot of those are onesies and twosies. If your whole street is out of power, they know what transformer or what wire to plug in or transformer to replace. Blam. The area of no service has contracted, and that same number of power guys is hitting that hard. They are pretty sure that everybody will be plugged in by Thursday. And I think that's on the safe side. And if they're not plugged in on Thursday, that means they're 2 miles off the road and got more alligators than people for neighbors, that sort of thing. But they're absolutely cranking on it, and it is incredible.
They started out with 1.5 million people without power.
Oh, no, way up. 3 or 4 million. This is Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And that was the max. We lost power here 15 minutes. That's nothing. You think it's going to be bad
here?
Mm-hmm. And I think all three of us collectively have spent more than our share of time in these storms, so we earn the right to dodge them.
Yes,
I'm good with that too. Scott, I'm surprised you're doing a little more construction these days. I'm surprised that you haven't loaded up your pickup truck and not finding yourself in Tampa, St. Pierre, Clearwater, et cetera, Bradenton.
Yeah, you have to have your company set up to do things like that, and our company is strictly set up to build apartments. So that all of our work crews, that's all they do is that. So I mean, you can't, and we have active projects. We can't just walk away from these projects. I mean, I'm wrapping up one right now, and I have another small one that we're probably going to be wrapped up maybe mid-November.
Mm-hmm.
End of November at the latest, and then maybe I can. But to be perfectly honest, I've got almost a 3-month hiatus that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's the time when you load up your pickup truck and come south.
Yeah, and that's the time when I work on the political matrix and forget construction for a while.
All right. Well, the fact that it starts after the November election promises to be more fascinating than anything else. The numbers on the polls, and you guys know the numbers better than I do, but apparently Kamala is in a negative slide, and Trump, if not on the ascendancy, has picked up a point here and a point there, and that has made all the difference in the world. The Democrats are panicking. She has called out the big guns, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama. I don't know if Hillary is out there on her behalf as well. And even Bill Clinton is like, well, yeah, they brought in 3.5-4 million people under the Biden administration, and we probably should be checking them out. Of course, he's only low by, 8 or 10 million. And that's a serious smack upside the head. I'll tell you what, Bill is looking a little on the rough side, and you got to get used to Barack Obama. He's all white, not my silver. He is all white, and I can't. If I said it looks like Uncle Ben, you can't do that. That's kind of dicey. And just go with it. Okay. So Kamala on Wednesday, the 16th, thank you, the 16th, is going to do an interview with Brett Baer of Fox News. They're going to pre-tape it, editing only for length when she has long pregnant pauses. They're not going to take out any content. They're only going to, you ask a question, you're going to get the answer to go with it. None of
I mean,
this.
they're not going to do what ABC did to Mike Johnson
CBS.
or CBS.
Yeah. What they did with her is they asked her a question. She couldn't come up with a good answer. They took an answer from another question and put that. And I'm going to tell you something. I worked for CBS for 10 years. Okay, 10 years. I put my ass on the line for CBS. And if they treat any candidate like that, whoever was involved, the reporter, the photographer, the sound tech, the producer, the editor, every single one of them should be marched out onto West 57th Street and cut loose. That's absolutely embarrassing. And if they, makes me crazy, just makes me crazy.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about ABC and JD Vance.
Okay, lead on.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, not JD, Mike Johnson.
Mike Johnson, yeah.
Because they did the exact same thing with Mike Johnson, except what they did with him was they edited what he said down to a fraction of what he actually said, and then chopped it up so that it didn't really represent what he said. When I've been interviewed before by national news organizations, NPR, frankly, for all their failings, I will say that when they interviewed me, the parts of what we used, of what we said, accurately represented the substance of the conversation that we had. And I will give them that. Now, to be fair, that was 10, 15 years ago. So I don't know what that interview would look like today, but what ABC did is just as unconscionable as what they did what they did to Mike Johnson is unconscionable as what they did for Kamala, because it's just it's just crafting the message so that it doesn't damage your side. And
but they're not supposed to have a side. ABC, and I worked at ABC in my mid-20s. Okay, that was just a fluke. What is Rob doing in New York City, 20-something? I think I have the distinction of being the worst hire in the history of ABC radio news. But part of my job when I first got there, just to get me in the building, was being a tape editor. So the reporter would call in, I would sit in the studio and sort of supervise the recording and the editing and the delivery and that sort of thing. Reagan was down at Houston talking to the space shuttle guys, and he's on the radio and he says, boy, this is really something for an old cavalry. He in the National Guard in Iowa in the 1930s, before he got discovered and sent to L.A. He was actually in the National Guard, and the Iowa National Guard was cavalry. I don't know if he rode horses there or what, but it's like the comment made no sense at all. And I got seriously called on the carpet for deleting for an old cavalry guy. And you can't do that. I said, it did not pertain to the answer. Okay. He's saying, hey to the astronauts, being an old cavalry guy. And it took much longer than one sentence. It was 2 sentences, whatever. Did not change the tone or tenor. That's one thing with an internal edit. Okay. It didn't change his folksiness or how he was dealing with the astronauts. It put him, and I was trying to, saying the emphasis should be on the astronauts. This is not like Nixon's call to the moon guys, but it's still pretty cool. That's when the shuttle was brand new in 81, fall of 81. So yeah, there is absolutely no excuse. And the other interview that was, I forget who did. Bill Whitaker did it on 60 Minutes the other night. And then there is the other issue of Tony DeCopel. Tony is a morning anchor on the CBS Morning News, along with Gayle King and some other guy, Nat something or other, that also does football. And he interviewed a guy he knows, actually, who wrote a scathing, blistering attack book about Israel and the Palestinian situation. And he is on the side of the Palestinians, that all of Israel needs to be eliminated and Jews killed. And Tony DeCopel got into it with him. And now it wasn't properly vetted. I'm like, what are you talking about? The guy knows he's getting interviewed by his buddy Tony. Tony asks a hard question, and he starts bitching and moaning. I don't get it. Did Greg have another gummy? Is that why you're falling asleep on us there, buddy?
I'm not falling asleep. I'm doing some research right now.
Okay. Research some more. So Kamala is going to be on with Brett Baer on Fox News. I have no idea how long it's going to last. 30 minutes, maybe, cut in segment. I don't know. I think that it is a very strong probability that she will once and for all lose the election. I don't care if she has a BA and a doctor of jurisprudence and stuff like that. That don't matter. She can't string a freaking sentence together. She can't do a stump speech after 3-4 months on the campaign trail. She has to use a teleprompter. When the teleprompter broke, she repeated the same line 4 or 5 times. Now, how do you say that's anything other than just being an idiot? How can you possibly express an idea if you can't generate it between your ears? Come on, talk to me, guys.
Well, I mean, the bottom line for me is that Kamala is just, she's just not good. She's so in her head. She's so in her own head. So when she's saying these things, she's trying to make sure that she uses things that make her sound, commanding and authoritative and things like that. when the reality is, if she would just speak her mind, it would come out better. The problem is that she doesn't really have any hard set positions on these issues. I think Bernie Sanders probably said it the most accurately when he said that that she's just going to say what she needs to say to get elected.
Yeah, Bernie still thinks she should be the nominee.
The fact is that neither the Republicans or the Democrats know what her real policies are, because she's only saying what she thinks she needs to say to move the needle.
Greg?
I totally agree. I mean, she doesn't say anything based on principle whatsoever. I mean, pretty much everything is about getting the vote out, getting the vote out, getting the vote out. And so, I mean, as far as, whether, how they stand on things, that's irrelevant at the moment. I mean, right now, there's so much policy closeness between a lot of her policies that she's now adopting newly, that she's has this here wonderful, resurrection of ideas. And then basically she's born as democrating Trump's ideas. And so, I mean, as far as daylight going, I mean, there's not even much daylight between the abortion issue. I mean, there's not much daylight between the environmental issues. I mean, she wants to lower taxes on people too. The biggest daylight, I think, is on the taxing of the rich. She is dedicated to making sure that rich people who pay all of us pay more money, so they don't have to pay us anymore. So basically, I mean, the whole idea is that you just keep on taxing the rich, and they're going to obviously pay. There's all the loopholes are going to disappear. That's not reality. The reality is loopholes are still going to be there. They're still going to have really good accountants. They're still going to pay whatever they pay, and all they're going to do is use that as an excuse to cut wages, to cut salaries, and to cut workforce. And that's not good for the middle income. That's not good for the middle class at all. Mm-hmm. And so basically, whenever you tax the rich, it hurts everybody else. It trickles down, just like Reagan does say, and it trickles down and it hurts all of us. And I mean, the whole idea here is, and that's the biggest daylight I think between them is Trump wanting to lower the income tax to 15% for corporations, and that's going to be one of the lowest tax brackets and everything else for corporations in the world. Right there close to Ireland. He talked about that in 2016, and he wasn't able to make it to that low amount in 2016, but I think he will be able to now. I think the hunger for more jobs.
Let's see what kind of mandate he gets in Congress to back that up. Big story
I think the mandate is huge now compared to then.
I'm trying to think who it was. Was it NBC tonight? Maybe ABC. They were talking about Ted Cruz in Texas loses, that could change the whole makeup of the Senate. And also, apparently, they feel they're going to lose the Montana seat as well. I'm like,
Who?
what? Huh?
What? Huh?
Huh? Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Democrats will lose Montana, yeah. And I think the Republican, I don't see Ted Cruz losing.
No,
I don't see him losing
the
at all.
polls are close.
Well, the polls are close, but if you notice that, the only polls you hear anything about are either national polls or registered voter polls, and the fact that Trump is nearly in a tie with her on a registered voter poll. I felt so validated the other day when a couple of the I forget what show it was. I was one of the national analysts, and they said that if they are tied in a registered voter poll, he's probably killing her in a likely voter poll, which is what I've been saying for years about those two types of polls.
How many polls are you hearing out there where a Republican is winning a lot?
Yeah.
Are they ever going to put a poll out with a Republican winning? No. They'll always, they got polls out that Rick Scott's going to lose badly. And every poll they have out there is a narrative for their advertising mechanism.
Oh, by the way, I just saw who's the three named Cuban lady, Debbie something something something. No. For U.S. Senate, Florida, against Rick Scott. They had one showing Rick Scott as a giant python slithering up the steps of the Capitol. I loved it. It was great. I mean, it was terrific. And apparently he wrote the legislation to kill Social Security, to kill all abortion. When they use the word kill and abortion, it just kind of makes you laugh. And to raise taxes. They wouldn't cite which pieces of legislation this was, and I'm pretty sure that I didn't hear any of those bills passing in the Senate. So, but it was very clever use, and it's one of those. Hey, as we're doing this, we're 3 weeks from the election.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 freaking weeks.
But who's putting that out? The media's putting it out, and not the other campaign.
Well, they actually paid for the commercial, so go figure.
I'm pretty sure it's getting a lot of news coverage as well as being fact and all truth.
Well, the bottom line is before Trump entered the political arena, they were at least subtle about how they would come up, make up these weird narratives about who's winning and losing, or who did this, who wants to, raise your taxes and stuff like that. They were a little subtle. It was almost believable when they would say it. They've gotten to the point where they're not even trying to be believable.
I mean, it kind of goes back to 1994 whenever they said Newt Gingrich was going to throw his mom off a cliff, and he was feeding his mom dog food.
Republicans always want to end Social Security. They always want to end Social Security. I'm trying to remember who was president when they moved the Social Security Trust Fund into the budget. Anybody? Pink's going to have to look that up. Social Security Fund was separate until it was included in the budget, and I don't know if we're going to be happy when we report on what administration that happened under. I dare say
Nixon or Carter.
Oh, I don't know. It was probably Bush, honestly. That sounds like something the Bushes would do.
Bush, right.
Yeah. So there is that. Anyway, Kamala's interview, no teleprompter, no questions in advance. They're doing it basically, they're recording it live with minimal editing. And I hope that it goes into extra innings. And I hope Fox says, you know what? We're going to run this whole sumbitch. And we don't care if it runs long. But her handlers probably will try to cut it short. If they said, we'll give you 30 minutes and it's going south at 20 minutes, they're going to cut it. Just wait and see. But then maybe the Fox cameras will pull out and they'll turn the sound up with the people saying, okay, now we're done. We're good here. Thanks very much. Goodbye, Fox. Get her up, ran her out the door.
I saw a study
after the first question.
Yeah, I saw a study last week about early voting. Early voting is down 45% right now nationwide. It hasn't started in Florida here yet.
And it starts next Tuesday. I was listening
Sunday
to the Limbaugh replacement guys today, and they were very specific. They were getting calls from Colorado, Georgia, North Carolina, 3 or 4 states, 3 or 4 states, early voting. And the guy said, I was there at 8 o'clock this morning. I pulled up. The line was around the building. Went to work, got out on lunch, went to another place closer, line around the building. 3 o'clock, 3:30, he's done with work, comes out, goes to the first place, and he was still in line when he was on the talk show. So there's that. There was that. So
That's
one
good.
can hope, and apparently, and I had never understood this, if somebody would like to clarify it, if you vote early, you don't get any robocalls. You don't get any additional mailings. You get nothing from any candidate.
They
Talk
reduce
about that. Talk about that.
Okay, you don't get those if people pay attention to the lists. Because
Right.
in most areas, whenever you vote, you're taking out, you're provided a list. The campaigns are, if their supervisors of elections are organized, they will provide the candidate a list for everybody who's already voted up to that time, and then people will take them off the list. However, a lot of people don't take them off the list because just because that one person voted doesn't mean somebody else in the household has voted already. And so a lot of times, just because one person votes and it's 3 or 4 registered voters in that household, they still will get robocalls. They still will get emails, hoping they'll tell somebody else in their family to vote for this person I just got a call for, and or look at this mailer. But all this is all surmised based on the organization of the campaign and the organization of the supervisor of elections to keep track of the data and to give it to the candidates accordingly and objectively. The objectively is the curious part. A lot of SOEs have their favorite guys who are running, and the candidates F off. And the opposition to their favorite guys F off. And so basically, you don't really know sometimes. We've had that issue in Escambia County. Scott and I have both, where we got data back about some people who voted, and it's not the same data. It doesn't matter what county. It might just be a mistake or something. Because there is no voter fraud, of course, out there, because all the votes are all pristine, and every election is celestial and wonderful and clean as a Virgin Mary.
Well, I'll tell you, Greg has a more charitable assessment, than I do of what.
Sorry.
Of a more charitable assessment of why why these voter lists don't get pared down. In my mind, especially in large campaigns, those voter lists are things these guys get paid by the call. They get paid by the piece of mail.
That too.
All right. So do they accidentally leave a whole bunch of people that voted in there so they can bill for them later? Yeah, I think there are a lot of unscrupulous people out there that do that.
No, you're not saying there's candidates campaigners who actually want to make a living screwing over their clients.
Those out-of-town experts that your local candidates always hire instead of getting the local experts who actually know the campaign and the market.
Unfortunately, the out-of-town guys are good too because we're out of town as much as we're local.
Yeah, I got you.
You're only local within like 30 miles.
Got it. All right.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate you liking the show. We really would appreciate a share and mostly a subscription. And every time you subscribe 10 times or more, you will get a free Political Matrix tumbler. This is a metal tumbler, keeps ice good for 3 or 4 days. If you're, say, in a hurricane and you need to keep your what do they call it stuff, insulin cold, just drop the insulin in, put ice on top of it. It'll be fine when you're without power. And after 4 days, you're pretty screwed. These are available $24.95. Just contact us here at the Political Matrix News. We'll take cash, check, money order, little baby ducks, and Zelle and Zoom, and what's the other thing?
Baby
Apple
ducks.
Pay. You got all that, right, Fink?
Except for the baby ducks, yes.
Okay, well, they look really cool in the flooded area in front of your apartment. So on behalf of Greg
You're
Fink
live.
in Gainesville, Scott Miller in Pensacola, I'm Rob Milford in Orlando. This is the Political Matrix News.